We'll send to people if they haven't been in a while. I'm a big believer in My Zone, which is like our heart rate monitoring system. I believe that's really big for retention because it gives people, it gamifies the workout and gives them tangible goals to be able to set with that. And then the last thing is, one thing that we've changed a lot is we used to send out an email to everybody that was in less than 8 times a month. If you talk to Plumber or Rick, like that's their big magic number. Anybody that's in less than 8 times is a lot more likely to quit, right? But what we noticed with that is when we started to send it, is some people are totally fine paying $300 a month and coming in 4 times a month and just working out once a week. They're totally fine with that. So a lot of times we'd hammer these emails to people and being like, hey, you're only in 8 times this month. They'd be like, oh yeah, like I think I'll just quit my membership. So it ends up like reminding them of stuff that you don't even necessarily need to be on their case about. They might be totally fine that they only made it in 3 or 4 times. So we more look at usage patterns. So if I have a guy that's on 5 sessions a month, and he's chronically in 5 sessions a month, and then last month he was only in twice, I might reach out to him and say, hey, you know, we missed you a month. I noticed you weren't in as much. Like, can we set up a meeting to just re-game plan this month or whatever? So for us, it's more about just looking at these usage patterns versus like one specific number, and then being able to get them back on track if they're off their normal usage, right? So this is just like our in general kind of retention strategies that we work on. 3,000. So I personally believe that every gym owner, or really whatever business you're in, small business you're in, if you're running your own medical, golf, whatever, I think you should be able to grow your business by $3,000 a month, which seems pretty crazy, but if you crunch the numbers, it's not a lot for us. Again, we're going through all these numbers and KPIs. I'm a very like dork, like numbers driven dude, so I like to operate off the numbers all the time. But if I get those 30 leads, which was our step 1, right? And I get 20 of those people to go to a trial, and then I convert 60% of those trials, that's gonna be 12 new signups a month, right? So 30 leads, I convert 20 of those go to trial, I convert 60% of those, I get 12 signups, right? If my average EFT, my average client's $300 a month, that gives me $3,600 a month that I'm netting in sales, in new sales, right? If I lose 2 clients, I only lose $600 for the month. There's my net of $3,000 for the month. Everybody's a little bit different, but in general, a lot of people can grow their business. There's so many guys now in the fitness industry doing $1 million a year in revenue. It's a kind of the big boy number, but a lot of people are doing it now. You can go from $30,000 a month to $60,000 a month, and we've done it before pretty easily, like in an 8 to 10 month span, if you follow these numbers, if you follow these systems, and if everything is organized with these KPIs. So again, where that number comes from, we're just trying to get 12 new signups a month at $300. We lose 2 people, that's that net of $3,000 a month that we're working. And these are the kind of numbers you need to pay attention to. Also, if you're trying to build a financially successful gym that you can start to step away from, because then your staff can look at these numbers. You oversee it all, but they're empowered to be able to look at these numbers and make changes as needed as well. Like if you're just netting a couple $100 a month, or you're losing a couple $100 a month, and you're just staying stagnant, it's gonna be really hard for you to step away from that business and allow it to still grow, right? So the next thing I want to talk to you guys about, we've already hit most of, is just having the right systems in place. So you have to have the right systems, and then your team and your employees have to be able to act out those systems and live those systems, right? So for us, we've already went through most of them. We went through those 5 steps. I'm gonna go over a few more in place, but you guys have to be able to build your gym, obviously, or your business for it to be able to sustain without you. But one thing I've learned is you also have to be able to build it through the systems and operations of like you're gonna run 10 of these things. It's great to have one, and even if you only wanna have one and never wanna open up a second gym, it still should be able to operate like you have 10 of them, and everything can be plugged and play into these different systems, and it can still be successful, right? So what we have is our operations manual. This is about a 60-page document that Plumber probably hammered on me to write for like 3 years, and then we finally finished it like 6 months ago. It was a daunting process, but I told myself I'm just gonna hammer this out with my operations manager for the next like 2 months. We're gonna write down every single thing we do, and then when we get done with it, I'm gonna give her like 3 days off, and we're just gonna surge and do this until it gets done. And so ours is about 60 pages. The biggest thing with this is it's how we train our staff. So everything is very systemized. Everything's done the same way. This is how we train them. This is how you come in and turn on the lights. This is how you open the door. Like everything has to be a system, and it's all within this operations manual. The other thing is if I go to sell the business, this is a huge selling tool for me because I'm basically selling my business. I'm selling those 12-month receivable accounts so they know how much the business is worth, but I'm also selling you the blueprint and the playbook to how this business needs to run, right? And so this is how everything can run without me because it's all defined within this operations manual. And I gave everybody that I did the speech with in Baltimore last week a copy of our operations manual on a hard drive, and I have about 6 of them left, so I'll give them out to you guys, anybody that wants it, just so you can see. I don't care, copy it. If you don't have one, copy it. Or at least use it as a template to write your own. But I'm a huge believer in you have to have this operations manual. A, so there's congruency to be able to train your staff off of. B, so that you have a system that you can go to sell when you do sell the business. But it's also just how everything's going to run. So this is a big key to stuff being able to run without you having to be there all the time. So we literally just wrote down every single thing that happens in the gym from a week to monthly basis. Like everything we do is in this manual. So I could not be at the gym for a week. They could see what's going on with this manual. People could run it without me being there, right?
How long did it take you to create that?
Probably like 2 months, a lot of time. Like it took a lot. Luckily, we had a lot of stuff saved in Google Drive already, and it was just a matter of like finding all these policies and all these different things we do. But it was a good 2 months, and I incentivized my operations manager, who had done stuff like this before too. I was like, hey, if we get this done the next 2 months, like I'll give you an extra week off, but we got to hammer this out like every single day. And she did, and we did great. We got it done in about 2 months. Then I gave her a week off, and it was great. But yeah, it does take time. That's why I'm more than happy to give you guys mine, and you can just use it as a template, and you'll probably be able to do it in half the time that I did it in. So, yeah. So the next thing I want to talk to you guys about is just some productivity stuff. This is kind of random, but honestly, being a gym owner, being a coach, whatever it is, like it is really hard to manage all the day-to-day tasks and all the day-to-day stuff that needs to get done. So for me, again, I'm like very type A, I'm very numbers driven, so I need to have like a system of how to get this stuff done. So for me, I'll create a yearly plan to a monthly plan to a weekly plan to a daily plan. I have my yearly, my weekly, my monthly, my daily to-dos. And how I organize that, honestly, is Eat That Frog is one of the biggest books that I've read that's really helped me organize like a yearly and a monthly plan, so kind of more of like the bigger scale stuff. And then from there, I'm a big fan of using the 5-minute journal to be able to organize that stuff on a daily basis. I've written in my 5-minute journal probably every day for the last like 6 years now, pretty much since I left here, which is like super nerdy and dorky, but it's helped me out a ton. 2 reasons. The first reason is the first thing you do in it is you have to say what 3 things you're grateful for. It's a little cheesy, a little woo-woo, whatever. But for me, like I want to be in the right mindset, from like my family and my kids, but also to run my business. I want to be in the mindset of being grateful and what am I grateful for each day. So that's the first thing. I list 3 things when I'm grateful. Maybe super basic stuff, it may be more in depth, whatever. But then the other 3 things what are the 3 biggest things I need to accomplish today? So for me, it's like I'm not going to bed until these 3 things happen. What are my 3 big things that are going to move the needle today? Maybe it's sales-based, maybe it's lead-based, maybe it's personal development, whatever it is. But sometimes it's more than 3 things, but usually these are the absolute 3 things I have to finish by the end of the day. And I'm not going to bed, or I can't go home and hang out with the kids until these 3 things are done, right? So those are the 2 biggest things. It just helps me on a daily basis get in the right mindset, and it helps me organize my to-dos. Because I think a lot of people get stuck in the mind frame of they're busy, but they're not actually getting productive work done. Like it's easy to have like 20 things that you have to do today, but like are those actually really driving the needle? Are they making sales? Are they getting you to these long-term goals that you have? A lot of times they're not. So for me, these 3 things are 3 things that are big things that are going to move the needle forward for me that day. And then if I have extra time, I go to my weekly to-do list and I'll hammer out a few more things. If not, I at least know those are the 3 things that I'm getting done that day. And there's other apps, I'm sure you guys probably know a lot of them, but for me, this is the biggest one, the 5-minute journal. They have an app for it too if you don't want to write in it. And this was a huge book just for me to organize my monthly and weekly and yearly to-dos. So we're getting towards the end. Bear with me, guys. We're almost done.